I don't stand side by side with nobody till I bleed with them first.
What did we just see? You probably think this world is a dream come true.
When I step into this ring, yeah, bro, I am addicted.
Don't sleep on Luca!
Maybe tomorrow we'll all wear 42.
If you fight for your dreams will fight for you!
Alright, so let's preface this with two things. I'm currently writing this on December 27th, 2023. AEW Dynamite New Year's Smash is wrapping up, and as the year comes to a close, I reflect back on the year AEW has had. Now, I'm not the type to highlight negative things and very rarely make these type of rant videos. However, it isn't exactly outside my wheelhouse either. Last year, I made a video on my old podcast discussing the state AEW's TNT Championship had found itself in and what improvements could have been made there. That leads us to the second preface, and it's mainly about AEW as a whole. I want to talk about what AEW can do to improve their women's division as we enter the new year, but it is hard to feel any sort of optimism. Put simply, until Tony Khan proves the fan base otherwise, it's hard to believe that change will happen. Now, very recently, as of Thursday, I believe it was, in a media call, he talked about wanting to make changes, but again, it's hard to believe it until you see it happen. People have been calling for change, and those of us who have been giving constructive criticism, criticism about the product that, is in good faith, we've been doing this for years at this point, just to be ignored time after time. But just like that video with the TNT title, I want to remain optimistic and just give my sort of feedback. As someone who enjoys women's wrestling and many of the talents AEW has, I simply want them to put their best product out. So without further ado, here are some of the changes I would like to see happen heading into 2024. Starting off with the simple and most requested change from the fan base, bring Athena back to programming. It makes absolutely zero sense that we have seen other champions from Ring of Honor appear on AEW television besides Athena. We saw Samoa Joe as TV champion, MJF and Adam Cole with the tag titles, Wheeler Yuta and Shibata with the pure title, and yet the only time we have seen Athena was during the Owen Hart Cup. It also doesn't make sense when a lot of those previously named champions have a lot of their stories playing out on AEW TV, and Athena can't even get a title defense. Athena has been on the run of a lifetime, and the entire thing has been locked behind a paywall that honestly isn't even worth the price. I'm going to keep this part short because this request is not only one of the most vocalized in the fan base, but it also ties into our next section. You want to know why in these last 2 to 3 months, but mainly the last month and a half or so of AEW, the women's division has been a bit better? It's because we have gotten to see a lot of new faces, especially in these past couple weeks. While we still see a lot of familiar faces, we have gotten to see the likes of Riho, Abaddon, and Red Velvet make appearances and be fresh faces to challenge for titles. Heading into 2024, Tony Khan has to look at the women's division and sort of make 3 decisions. The first of which is how he wants to approach the division. By this I mean he has to commit to what he has been doing recently. Keep the title scenes fresh. The obvious name is Athena, as she can freshen up both the world and TBS title scenes, but believe it or not, AEW actually has quite a few women to make both the scenes interesting. To just name a couple that I like, AEW has Abaddon, Diamante, Emi Sakura, Kiera Hogan, Layla Hirsch, Mercedes Martinez, and Red Velvet to add to their already reoccurring cast of Hikaru Shida, Julia Hart, Chris Statlander, Mariah May, who will soon debut, Nyla Rose, Riho when she's around, Ruby Soho, Sky Blue, Taya Valkyrie, Thunder Rosa, who recently returned, Toni Storm, and Willow Nightingale. This is not even including Jamie Hayter upon her return, Yuka Sakazaki once she makes her way stateside after wrapping up her time in Japan, and Serena Deeb whenever they have plans to reintroduce her. AEW has the pieces to work with. It is simply up to Tony Khan to capitalize on it. And part of me believes he has seen the errors of his previous ways. For example, he started Taya Valkyrie off with title shots to the point where fans were ready for her to move aside despite being such a new signee. Compare this to now, where he has taken his time introducing Mariah May to the audience, building the anticipation up for her debut. He's done the same recently with Abaddon's feud with Julia Hart, Diamante and Mercedes Martinez getting a feud with Statlander and Nightingale, and Red Velvet getting a ton of praise upon her return. Like I said, Tony Khan has a lot of great women to work with in this division. He even has many more names that I didn't list, perhaps that I may have forgotten, or those who may not be of my taste but have their respective fans out there. However, when it concerns this division, Tony Khan still has more decisions to make. In 2024, Tony Khan's second decision that he has to make concerns the booking of the women's division. To put it bluntly, Tony Khan has to decide if he's going to hand the pen to somebody else in 2024 or not. If Tony Khan does not view women's wrestling as a priority on his list, then at least allow people who do to have the pen for their booking. Khan can obviously get final say like he does in other areas of creative, but allow for the talent and other agents or veterans to come in and take over the story element of the division. In 2023, many point to Jamie Hayter's injury as the catalyst for the world title falling to the lowest of lows. We saw too many title changes for a world title, too many meaningless reigns, and never really saw an ounce of consistency throughout it all. In the TBS title scene, we saw Jade Cargill have to meddle around doing nothing because Khan didn't want to pivot when injuries changed plans. Now, Statlander and Hart have done a great job of bringing life to that division, but the fans are still waiting to see what happens with the world title. Like I said, we have seen changes the past couple of weeks, but it all means nothing if it does not remain consistent. Which is why I say, what does Tony Khan want to do? Does he want to continue doing the booking and writing for this division, or does he feel it will be too much on his plate? Because remember, it's not just as simple as booking champions and challengers. The reason I say he should at least consider bringing on people to aid him if he hasn't already is because he has to book various storylines outside the title scenes just like he does with the men. He has to think about each woman's individual character, what storylines are going to occur, especially outside the title scenes, to make people care about these characters, what stories and matches are going to make the most sense, and most importantly, how is he going to book each champion? He has done a great job with Statlander and Julia Hart's reign so far, but we need to see more of that. We need to see more of the ensuing reign mattering just as much as the win. We need to see interesting stories that get us to care about each woman. And probably the most difficult part, we need to see the time committed to this division. I understand the issues are, as some would say, out of his hands, but Khan needs to find a way to commit time to his division. They need the time to speak and wrestle in front of a crowd to get that experience. The ones who have proven that they have what it takes need to take priority over those that are still learning. Those that are still learning, as harsh as it sounds, Khan needs to tell them it's on them. Sky Blue has gotten as good as she has this year because she has spent time outside of AEW getting reps and improving so that AEW doesn't need to commit so much TV time for her improvement. We the fans can say all we want about how they should work various indies or they should send them on excursion, but ultimately it's on the talent to make those choices. And if those talents are complacent, they can't be surprised when others who are putting in the work to improve and move this division forward are given higher priority. The last decision is one that I have the least amount of faith in. And of course, I have to mention Tony Khan did recently make a comment on this, but it's still, again, one of those things of I have to see it to believe it. But first and foremost, I want to say I am the last person to ever call for someone's job or to say that somebody is not deserving of the opportunities they are given. However, I do have to mention this, that it is just a bit baffling, at least to me, how many signings Tony Khan will make for his various men's divisions, yet turn a blind eye to the many great women out there without major contracts. Tony Khan has done what any promoter does, make signings to beef up his divisions. He has made signings for the main event, the mid card, and even the lower card. He He has even made investment signings, guys who are not quite there yet but given time can be a great payoff. However, we rarely see that for the women's division. We have seen various women show out and yet, as far as we know, are not on contracts. And I mean full-time contracts. Trish Adora and Queen Amanada are two women who are unique, have their presentations down, and have what it takes to be contributors to any promotion out there. We have seen them make appearances in Ring of Honor, AEW. Adora, who not only competed in Tokyo Joshi Pro earlier this year, but is now going to face Julia heading into the next year. And yet, as far as we know, those two don't have a contract with any major promotion out there. Deonna Purrazzo is going to be a free agent at the start of the year and could be looking for a fresh setting. Mercedes Moné has been sitting there for a whole year. These are talents that can make an instant impact on any of your divisions. And I understand, it's not just the signings, like I was saying previously. It's all about the booking, but at the same time, you got to make a lot of signings, again, to beef up your divisions to, help out those different areas, whether it be the main event, the mid-card, or the lower card. Open the checkbook, Tony Khan. I promise you, if you invest in women's wrestling, it will pay you back. This is not even taking into account the various women in parts of the world such as Mexico, the UK, or Japan. You had a semi-partnership with Tokyo Joshi Pro. Do not be afraid to use it. Talent exchanges can freshen things up for both promotions. And obviously, again, it's one of those things that may be out of his hands. Another thing that more so concerns the booking, do not be afraid to have talent take some losses even in big matches. We just saw this with the Continental Classic where, yes, some of the fan base is complaining about some guys taking losses, but you got to see interesting matchups with guys who maybe haven't faced off yet before, and we all got to see it because of the Continental Classic, and the losses and wins actually meant something. Getting back to the main point, just imagine a division that features all the women I mentioned and being able to add talents like Adora, Amanada, Purrazzo, Monet, and then maybe even looking towards other countries for signings or talent exchanges. Make some investment signings like you did with Billy Starks. I understand this business has so many things to be taken into consideration. However, I'm just tired of seeing these excuses only being made when it comes to advancing women's wrestling. Nobody is concerned with the budget when WWE or AEW are signing another big male free agent off the market. And yet, you talk about opening the checkbook to sign female talent and people are saying you're asking too much. As we enter 2024, just some food for thought. Is it really asking for too much when you simply want to see women being given the same opportunity as their counterparts? When they go out there for various promotions in the world and get attention, get eyes on the product, have great matches, get fans invested in their journeys, is it really too much to want to see them get more opportunities to push the sport forward? Is a second match on the card, more time on the show, whether in-ring or on the mic, better booking, and simply trust from their bosses and promotions too much to ask for? Since the early days of the Knockouts division in TNA, there has been an untapped market for women's wrestling in America. Some of these promotions have gotten real close, but every single one of them has been too afraid to take that leap of faith. As we head into 2024, I look at AEW and simply ask, do you want to be the change that you sought out to be?